everyone. Thank you for watching Edupedia World videos. So now we are in the part 3 video of basics of change and transport system. So in the first video we have learned about the different types of data, okay, and the CTS, the change in the transport system. So we have learned about the repository data, the customizing data. So part of the data could be client specific or cross client. Okay, then we have learned about system landscape. In the second video we have learned about the transport organizer. Okay, so how this transport organizer is built and how it is, how it works with the repository and the customizing tools. Okay, so in this video we'll learn about the transport management system. Configuration of a system landscape. You can use the transport management system, the TMS, to model and manage your system landscape. It provides tools for configuring your system landscape as well as for organizing, carrying out and monitoring transports. So now this transport management system is used for organizing, carrying out and monitoring the transports. So this takes care about all the transports. Okay, so in the transport organizer, in the second video we have learned about a change request. Okay, the flow of data from the dev to quality to production. So that movement is nothing but a transport. So the transport management system, it facilitates, okay, it takes care about the transportation in SAP system landscape. All SAP systems that are subject to the administration of the TMS form a transport domain. This is usually all SAP systems in the system landscape. Okay, so the SAP systems, okay, which are subject to the administration of the TMS, they form a domain, transport domain. So it's nothing but it's all the systems which are in the system landscape. Certain system settings are the same for all systems within a transport domain, such as transport routes. To achieve this, one SAP system in the transport domain has the reference configuration, with all other systems in the transport domain taking copies of this reference configuration. So when we have a development, quality and a production in a system landscape, so all of these systems, they form a transport domain, and the system settings, okay, are same for all the systems in this transport domain. Example, transport routes. Now in this transport domain, one system is made as it's taken as reference where all the configuration is built and that configuration is distributed to other systems. So whenever you want to make any configuration changes of this TMS, you have to make in the reference system and then distribute it to the other systems. So the system with the reference configuration is known as transport domain controller. That reference system is known as the domain controller. Only in this system you can make changes to the reference configuration. Each time you change the reference configuration, you must distribute the configuration, the new configuration, to all other systems. The TMS automatically generates RFC connections between the systems in a domain so that they can communicate. So whatever changes you want to make in the configuration, you should change only in the reference system. Okay, that is the domain controller, and once you have made the changes and saved it, you should distribute it to all other systems. Okay, and for this distribution of this configuration, the TMS, it automatically creates RFC connections. Okay, so the systems, any two systems, they communicate via a remote function call, so that is created automatically. Now when you install an SAP system, a transport directory is set up for it, or an assignment to the existing transport directory is created. The CTS uses the transport directory to store the transport data. All application server instances of the SAP system must be assigned to the same transport directory. Multiple SAP systems can use the same directory too. However, you can also create a separate transport directory for each system. Now, all the details about this, transport, okay, this data is stored at the OS level in a directory known as the transport directory. So, it's very important that an SAP system which has multiple instances, it has only one transport directory. Each instance will not have its own transport directory. It is must ensure that all the instances of the SAP system, they share the common transport directory, and even multiple SAP systems access the common transport directory. Okay, they can share the common transport directory or they cannot also. That's up to our discretion. But and in an SAP system, we have only one transport directory which is shared across all the instances. And this transport directory is where all the data related to the transport is stored. Now, the way in which you configure the transport directories in your system landscape depends on the following factors: the roles of the system, development, quality or protection system, and the security requirements of the systems that use the transport directory. Systems with lower security requirements such as development systems and quality assurance can share a transport directory. However, they should not access the same transport directory as the systems with high security requirements such as protection systems. And the other factor is the network speed for accessing a shared transport directory. So this transport directory, whether it has to be shared across multiple systems or not, you can use these factors. The low security risk systems, okay, the development and the quality and other demo training, okay, so the test system, so all these they can share a common transport directory. However, generally the protection systems, they are configured to use a separate transport directory of its own. And even the speed also, because this directory has to be accessed by different hosts, that is different SAP systems, so probably the network speed also you will need to take into consideration. Now, TMS supports multiple transport directories within a transport domain. Okay, so in a transport domain you can have multiple transport directories because a transport domain has different systems. The systems that share a common transport directory form a transport group. Data is exchanged between the systems using the RFC connections of the TMS. Now again, so the systems sharing the common transport directory, they are known as transport group. Okay, so what are the terms we have learned here? Transport domain. Okay, so all the systems under the administration of a TMS, they form a transport domain. Okay, and we have transport routes, that is from one system to another. The way in which the data flows, data always flows from dev to QA and QA to production, so that these are the routes. Then the reference system is known as the domain controller. Okay, next the transport directory. Okay, so to store all the data related to the transport, it is stored in a directory at OS level known as transport directory. Okay, the next one is a transport group. The systems sharing a common transport directory are called as a transport group. Okay, so one should be familiar with all these terms, okay, when we talk about change and transport system. Okay, now see, here it is: transport domain A and domain B. This transport domain has one transport group. This means that all the systems access a common transport directory. So here we have three systems. Okay, so all the three systems, they share a common transport directory. So we have only one group and the domain has one group. Okay, now transport domain B. Here we have two transport directories. The transport domain has several transport groups, each of which shares a transport directory. So here you have three systems accessing one directory and two systems accessing another directory. So we have two transport groups. All development and quality assurance systems have a shared transport directory and form transport group. 2. All production systems they share a transport directory and form transport group. 3. Transport domain B consists of systems in transport groups 2 and 3. So probably in a system landscape where you have multiple development, quality and production systems, what they do is generally for all the production systems they create one transport directory, and for all the development and the quality assurance system they create a separate transport directory. So we have two transport groups, but all of them they are under the same transport domain. Okay, here in this case we have only one transport directory, so we have only one group in the domain. Now when you configure a SAP system landscape, it is usually the case that not all SAP systems are available right from the beginning. The TMS allows you to define placeholders or virtual systems. So initially in a system landscape, it can happen that you can create and install new SAP systems at a later point of time also. So you might not have all the SAP systems from the beginning. So when your business expands, you want to create and install more systems, so which add up to your system landscape. So in that case, the TMS allows us to define placeholders which are known as virtual systems. These take the place of the systems that you want to include in the landscape at a later date. In this way, you can model the complete system landscape and make the settings for the CTS as soon as you have configured the TMS in one system. So what you can do means you can model the complete system landscape and you can make the settings for the CTS as soon as you have configured the TMS in one system. The virtual system is replaced when you install the real system. So when we establish a TMS in a system landscape, what we do is we create virtual systems, okay, and we leave it. So later when the actual system is built, the virtual system is replaced by the real system. If you administrate your SAP systems locally in different locations, for example at a head office and in different branches, it may be a good idea to configure several different domains. If you want to make transports between system and different domains, you can use domain links to link the two domains. Systems that are linked with domain links must not have a shared transport directory. The data is transported between the domains using RFC connections of the TMS, in the same way as transports are made between different transport groups. Okay, and one more thing is like your business is worldwide. Okay, so you have divided your business like into zones like Asia, okay, Americas, Europe, whatever. So you have multiple systems. Okay, so what we do is don't club all the systems in one domain. You can create different domains, okay, and you can link these domains using domain links, okay, but it is must ensure that this is when two domains are linked, they shouldn't share a common transport group. Every domain must have its own. So here, so you can link these two domains also, okay, so they will not have a common transport group and a common transport directory. Okay, each domain has its own transport groups and transport directories, okay, and it's just that the domains are linked using RFC connections. Okay, so that is an important point. Now, performing transports. You can use the transport management system to organize, carry out and monitor your transports. You no longer need to execute the TP commands at the operating system level. Now, the transport management system, the TMS, takes care everything about the import and the monitoring of transports. So this TP is nothing but it's a transport protocol commands. So in the later videos of this change in transport system, we learn about the different transaction codes, okay, which are used in this CTS. And at OS level, we have TP commands, the transport protocol commands, okay. So you no longer need to manually run these commands at the OS level, the TMS takes care of transports. You can start and monitor all imports from every system in the transport domain. The TMS uses the RFC connections that were created automatically when the transport domain was configured to display all information on the requests that are waiting for import. So now this TMS, it helps us in so much that initially when you have installed the TMS, configured the TMS, okay, so in a domain we have a domain controller, we can have different transport groups. It's nothing but they share the common transport directory. So but all the systems, they form a part of the transport domain, okay, like this. So what you do is when you open the TMS, okay, in SAP, you from one system you can monitor and import the transports of all other systems also. So it's not only that you will be able to see the transports which are imported or which are waiting to be imported or which were in error of only that particular system you have logged in, but you can see all the entire systems, the list of the entire systems configured in the transport domain, okay. So when you double click any of the system, you will see all the information about all the transports, okay. When you make an import, the TMS starts the transport control program TP in the target system. This program imports the data that was earlier exported from the database of the source system. If the two systems do not have a common transport directory, the TMS copies the necessary files into the transport directory of the target system before the import. So when an import has to be performed, so data is already exported from the database of the source system. So from QA, see, like this is the QA and this is the development, or this is the QA and this is the QA and this is the development, or whatever it is. So when you are trying to do an import into the QA, so data is already exported from the development and it is placed in the transport directory, okay. If the two systems, they do not share a common transport directory, then the data is automatically transferred to the target system transport directory where it has to be imported. And when you say import, okay, so then whatever files are waiting at the OS level, okay, it will be imported into the target system, the data, okay. So in transport, the transport directory contains very important information. It contains all the data. For every import you have files at the transport directory, okay. So never ever touch the transport directory. Don't delete any files in the transport directory. It's very dangerous. Now, so you can do this import in SAP level only, but if you do from SAP level also, it will actually call the transport control program, the TP, in the target system, okay. If you want to schedule an import for a particular point in time, the TMS schedules a background job in the target system. This is then executed at the time you choose. Say you want to schedule an import at a particular time, so what happens? A background job is scheduled in the target system, and then depending upon the time, the job is executed. If the import accesses another system in the domain, you need to authorize yourself in this system, okay. Even if there is a test system in your domain with free authorization for all users, imports into production systems can be only made by users with special authorizations. After you start or schedule an import, you can monitor the process from each system in the domain. All imports are logged so that you can see which transport requests were imported into a system at which time, okay. Now, and for importing, you need to have your whatever authorizations you have, you need to have some special authorizations for doing the imports. Generally in QA and development, most of the basis team will have access, but in the production system you will need to have, they will create some restricted authorizations to carry out the imports in the production system, because any unwanted transport, any unwanted change request, transport is nothing but a change request which is moving from one system to another, Change request is nothing but it's a data which is modified, some object like a table or a program which is modified, that is a change request. So any unwanted or by mistake, you shouldn't import any errored change request in the production system. That will cause serious problems. That's why import into production is like highly restricted. It's only given to some authorized users only. End users, they will not have any authorizations to do the imports into the production system. It's only the basis team which will have this authorization. Okay, so to do an import into a system, you should have some access in the target system to import the change request in that system. Okay, and even the request can be imported at a particular point in time also. That is done by scheduling a background job. Okay, and because the TMS is centrally configured across the domain, from any system you can open the TMS and you can check the logs. Okay, what all transports are to be waiting to be imported, or the errored ones, or whatever it is, the successfully imported ones of all the systems from any system in the domain. Okay, so that is an advantage. So in this video we have started with the terminologies like what's a transport domain, a transport route, then every domain has one domain controller. Okay, then transport directory is nothing but the systems in the TMS accessing. Okay, a transport directory is where the actual data of the entire transports is stored in the OS level, and a transport group is nothing but the systems sharing a common transport directory. Okay, so in one domain you can have n number of groups. Each group will have its own transport directory. Okay, but it should have at least one group where all the systems access only one transport directory. The next one we have learned is about the domain links. Okay, so you can communicate between two domains using domain links. Okay, so that the domain link is nothing but it's established via RFCs. Then the next one we have learned about the virtual systems. So initially you create virtual systems in your TMS. So later at some point of time when you develop the actual systems, these virtual systems are replaced by the real systems. Okay, and the other thing which we have discussed is how to do the transports. Okay, so because STMS is centrally configured in the domain, from any system you can open all other systems in the transport domain and you can choose see all the logs, okay, of all the change requests in that particular system. Okay, and to do imports you need to have some special authorizations in the target system to carry out the imports. And you can import from SAP system also. The SAP system, when you try to do the imports from SAP system, it actually invokes the TP commands at the operating system level. We learn more about the transactions and this TP commands in a different video. Okay, so don't worry about it as of now. So whenever you want to do an import, a TP command is invoked in the target system. Okay, and the other important thing is, if you're doing an import from one system to another system and two different transport groups, that means they have different transport directories. Okay, so then you will need to, then the system automatically takes care of FTPing the files from one directory to another. Okay, or you have to manually copy those transport files from one transport directory to another. To do an import in a system, what SAP should know is like, in the transport directory of that system the file should be present for that particular change request. Okay, so every change request will have some import files at the OS level. Okay, so if I am trying to import this request into my system now, so the corresponding file should be present in the transport directory of that system. So that's how imports takes place. So import you can do from OS level or from SAP level also. And in SAP level you have an advantage that you can schedule the imports at a particular point in time. Of course from OS level also you can do that, but SAP suggests you to carry out this transports from SAP level only. Okay, and all the information regarding the transports, this imports, okay, is lodged in the TMS. Okay, so you will be able to see like the log of that particular transport, like what are the details of the change request in that transport, who is trying to do the import, okay, or what time the request has been imported, everything, each and every information about the import, about that change request which is imported or waiting to be imported. Okay, you can see all these logs from the TMS. Okay, so this is about the basic idea about performing transports. Thank you.